disturbing camping encounters caught on camera. Viewer warning. My dog was barking at the hillside, not his normal bark. That kind of means something is very, very wrong. I thought it was a bear. I was so wrong. Tonight I'm sharing 3 camping encounters that will make you think twice before heading into the wilderness. The first involves a man in a ghillie suit stalking a solo hiker 20 miles from civilization. The second, a children's camp that made something in the forest very, very angry. And the third, a creature from Indigenous legend that still haunts its victim to this day. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's begin. This happened in the fall of 2018 in the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. I'd been planning this trip for months, 4 days deep in the back country, just me and my 2 dogs, my German Shepherd, Axel, and my little terrier mix, Sadie. By day 3, we were roughly 20 miles from the nearest mountain. No cell service, no other hikers, just us and the wilderness. That evening, we reached our campsite, a wide meadow at least 6,500 feet, right where the tree line starts to thin out. The sun would set in about an hour. As I started setting up the tent, Axel started acting strange. Usually he runs around while I work, chasing marmots, sniffing rocks, you know. But this time, he was frozen, staring up at this steep, tree-covered hillside. Tail straight up, barking. Not the excited bark when he sees squirrels. This was different. Concerned, unsure. The day before, I'd found a note tucked under a rock at the last landmark. It warned about a problem bear harassing campers a few days earlier. I'd also seen mountain lion tracks that morning. So, yeah, I was rightfully concerned. I climbed up on some boulders at the base of the hill, scanning the tree line for any movement. Axel kept whining, quietly, like he knew something was there but didn't want to provoke it. I needed to hang my bear bag up in those trees, and they were the only ones tall enough in the area, so I started climbing. This wasn't a hike, this was a scramble. The hill was so steep I had to grab trees just to keep from tumbling backwards onto the boulders below. One wrong step, and I'd fall 12, maybe 15 feet onto solid rock. I'm about 100 feet up when I hear it. Movement. Big movement. Maybe 50 feet ahead of me. And then Axel loses it. He goes from a low growl to a full-on rage, snarling, slobber flying everywhere. And down at the tent, I hear Sadie start screaming. I'd zipped her inside so she wouldn't wander off while I was gone. My heart is pounding. My mind is racing. If this is a bear, Axel's gonna try to protect me. And he's going to die. And I'm stuck on this hillside. If I try to run, I'm falling off that cliff. I'm trapped. I realize I'd completely forgotten about my headlamp. I reach up so fast to turn it on, I basically punch myself in the face. My hands are shaking, my knees are shaking. I flip it on and scan the hillside, looking for eyeshine, anything. Nothing. But I just heard something. We both did, and whatever it was, it hadn't moved far. Axel lunges forward, unpinning me from the tree. He charges up the hill about 15 feet, snarling, foaming at the mouth. That's when I see it. Movement. Breaking the line of the horizon against the sunset. I zero in, call Axel back, and I stare. There's a man crouched about 75 feet in front of me, not wearing cameo, wearing something homemade, raggedy like a ghillie suit, but made from moss and bark and dirt. His face is exposed, covered in mud or something dark. I can't see his eyes, but I know we're staring right at each other. I don't say anything. I can't. I'm too shaken. But I want him to know. I see you, and I'm not running. We stare at each other for what feels like minutes. Then Sadie starts barking again, frantic, scared, and I realize the sun is almost gone. If I don't get off this hill in the next few minutes, I could die trying to climb down in the dark. So I start backing down, slowly, carefully. Every few steps, I stop, turn around, look at him, making it clear, I see you. By the time I reach the boulders, Sadie has stopped barking. I can only see the top of my tent from where I'm standing. When I get there, Sadie's outside the tent, walking around, growling, tail straight out. I was sure I'd zipped the tent all the way up. The zipper pull was at the very top of the door, out of her reach. Someone had opened it. I reached into my pack, pulled out my .45 caliber pistol, and I fired one shot into the air. I don't eat dinner. I climb into my tent, gun next to me, and I don't sleep. As soon as the sun came up, I was packing. I didn't care that it was all downhill to get back to the car. I didn't care that I'd planned this trip for months. I just wanted out. But I couldn't make it back in one day. By nightfall, I was still about 4 miles from my vehicle. I set up the last established campsite. Thank God there were other people there. We sat around their fire, and I finally felt safe enough to tell them what had happened. They were planning to head up that same area in the morning. After hearing my story, we both hiked out at sunrise. When I got home, I did what anyone would do. I looked up reviews and trip reports from that trail, and that's when my blood ran cold. Other hikers had reported similar experiences. Someone watching from the trees, shadows moving through camp at night. A man who'd been found dead 2 years earlier fell from the same boulder field where I'd camped, and a woman was found murdered nearby just a year later. I don't know who that man was. I don't know if he's still out there, but I do know this. My dog knew. He tried to warn me, and if I hadn't seen him, if I hadn't stood my ground, I don't think I'd be here to tell this story. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the wilderness is another person. But what if the danger isn't human at all? What if it makes something angry? Something that was there long before you arrived. This next story comes from a summer camp counselor in the Appalachian Mountains, and it starts with a choice that would haunt him for years. Story 2. This happened in the summer of 2014 deep in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina. I was 19 years old, fresh out of high school, and I'd just landed my first real job, camp counselor at a wilderness retreat for kids. The pay wasn't great, but I'd be spending the whole summer in the mountains. I'd grown up in these woods, and my family had been here for generations. I loved it out there. The camp was huge. 3 main buildings arranged in a U-shape with a garden in the middle where we'd gather about 150 kids every morning for announcements. Behind us, a tall fence maybe 8 feet high, and beyond that, dense forest climbing straight up the mountain. The first week was normal. Some of the kids, city kids mostly, said they saw someone watching them from the trees at night. We figured they were just spooked. Animals moving around, deer, maybe a black bear passing through. We didn't take it seriously. Then my friend Marcus showed up the second session. Marcus was different. His grandmother had raised him, and she knew things. She'd tell you what was going to happen before it did. She'd look at someone she'd just met and know their whole story. Marcus had some of that in him, too. He just felt things other people didn't. He'd been there less than a week when it started. We woke up one night to screaming. All the kids in the middle building, the youngest ones, maybe 6 to 8 years old, were hysterical. We ran outside. They said someone had been hitting their windows, all of them, at the same time. When we checked, 3 or 4 windows had shattered glass in the corners like someone had struck them hard with something. But here's the thing. The building was at least 40 meters long. There were at least 10 windows along that side, and we'd gotten outside in under 10 seconds. We should have seen someone running. We saw nothing. We calmed the kids down, told them maybe a branch fell, maybe the wind. I didn't believe it, but, well, what else could you say? We went back to bed thinking we'd figure it out in the morning. The next morning we were outside doing exercises with the younger groups when one of the girls screams. A snake. But not just any snake. This thing was massive, 12, maybe 15 feet long, thick as my arm, and it was hunting the children. Not us. The children. It chased them around the garden, striking, lunging. Kids were scattering, crying. The head counselor who'd been running that camp for 25 years said he'd never seen anything like it. Dangerous animals don't come near camps. Too many people, too much noise. They avoid us. But this snake didn't care. We had no choice. We grabbed sticks, branches, anything we could find. We cornered it near the fence, pinned it down, and it just died. We weren't squeezing it, we were just holding it still. The plan was to move it into a van, drive it up a mountain, release it. But it stopped moving, just like that. Stress maybe, I don't know. But here's where we messed up. One of the guys, I won't say who, suggested we skin it, as a trophy. Hang the skin on the flagpole to show the kids they didn't need to be afraid. Show them we could protect them. I thought that was a badass idea. I was 19. I was an idiot. We skinned the snake, stretched the skin out, mounted it on the flagpole next to our group flag. And that's when everything went to hell. About a week later, the first group of kids went home. We had one night off before the next session started. Most of us decided to hang out in the girls' dorm. Music, drinks, just unwinding after a long week. Marcus and the other guy, Joel, were too exhausted. They'd been splitting firewood all day. They went to sleep in the boys' dorm room across the garden, maybe 50 meters away, close enough to see from our window. Important detail. We could see their building from our window. There were motion sensor lights above the door. If anyone came outside, we'd know immediately. Also, and this is important, we locked all the doors at night, every single one, with keys. It was part of our job, safety protocol, no exceptions. The door to our building, locked, keys sitting on the counter in the room with us. About half an hour after Marcus left, we heard something. Footsteps down the hall, then a toilet flushing. We all looked at each other. Everyone was in the room, all 4 girls, me, and one other guy named Kyle. The boys were in the other building, and they couldn't get in without us unlocking the door. We had the only key to this building. We went quiet, listened. Nothing. We waited maybe 5 minutes. Nobody said anything. Then someone knocked on our door. Fast, hard, 3 times. Then the handle moved like someone was trying to force it open. I jumped up and threw the door open. Nobody. We ran into the hall, checked every room, the bathroom, the storage closet. Nothing. The windows, all locked. The main door downstairs, locked. The key was still in our room, sitting exactly where we'd left it. We sat back down. Someone turned the music back on, but nobody was really into it anymore. And then we heard it. One single knock on the window. Heavy, deliberate, like someone had pressed their palm flat against the glass and left it there. I ran to the window, expecting to see Marcus or Joel messing with us. Nothing. Just the empty garden, the forest beyond the fence, the boys' dorm in the distance, lights off, but I felt it. Something was watching me. One of the girls, Emma, came up next to me. She looked outside, and then she started screaming. "Who are those people? Who are those people?" I grabbed her shoulders. What are you talking about? I couldn't see anything. None of us could. But she was pointing at the garden, crying, her whole body shaking. "There's people out there. They're just standing there staring at us." We tried to calm her down, asking her what she was seeing. She said there were people standing in the garden, dozens of them, all of them facing our window, heads turned toward us, but she couldn't see their faces. It was too dark. She tried to count them. Every time she got to 20 or 25, she'd break down crying. "There's at least 50 of them," she said. "Maybe more, and they're just staring." While she was trying to count, we heard something else. The main door downstairs. You remember the door we checked 15 minutes ago? The door that was locked? The door we had the only key to? It started slamming. Open, close, bang, bang, bang. Over and over, so hard the whole building was shaking. Pictures rattling on the walls. At this point, I was screaming too. We all were. Me and Kyle ran downstairs. The second we opened the stairwell door, the slamming stopped. We got to the main entrance, grabbed the handle, pulled as hard as we could. It was locked. Both of us pulled with everything we had and it wouldn't budge. We needed help. Marcus was right across the garden 50 meters away. We had weak cell signals, barely one bar, but we tried calling over and over, 30 calls, maybe more. No answer. Meanwhile, Emma was still at the window crying, saying the figures were still out there, standing, watching. After another 20 minutes, she said they started moving, walking toward the forest, walking through the fence, not over it, not around it, through it like it wasn't even there. And then they were gone. When the sun came up, we finally got brave enough to go outside. We found Marcus, woke him up, and he told us something that made everything so much worse. He said he'd woken up around 1 a.m. to get some water, looked out of the window to check if we were still awake, and he saw me, standing in our window, waving at him, giving a thumbs up like everything was fine. I was never at that window. And his phone? He said he'd checked it when he woke up. He had it with him. It was working fine, but he never got a single call from us. That morning, we found his phone in the middle of the garden. He swore he'd never left the room. Marcus told us something too. He said that when he woke up the second time, maybe 30 minutes after he saw me, he looked out of the window again, and he saw his grandmother. His grandmother who'd been dead for 3 years. She was standing outside in the garden, and she told him, "Go back to sleep. You can't come out right now. Your friends will be fine. I'll watch over them." He thought it was a dream, but that was exactly when Emma said the figures started walking away. Marcus said we had to apologize. So the next night, just the two of us, we hiked up into the forest, we built a small fire, burned some sage his grandmother had given him years ago. And we apologized out loud to whatever we disturbed, whatever we disrespected. We told them we were sorry, that we didn't understand, that we wouldn't do it again. After that, things stopped. We'd still see shadows in the trees sometimes, hear strange sounds at night, footsteps when no one was there. But nothing like that night. One of the girls managed to take a Polaroid photo during one of those nights, and she caught something white passing in front of the window. I wish I still had it. We all lost touch after that summer. People wanted to forget, but I'll never forget it. We killed something we didn't understand. We disrespected something that was protecting that land, and we paid the price. Disrespecting nature can open doors you can't close. But what happens when the door doesn't just open, when something walks through it and never leaves? This final story involves a creature from Indigenous legend, a creature that, if it touches you, never lets go. Story 3. This happened in the fall of 2012, Northern Ontario, Canada. I was 22 years old, and I'd gone elk hunting with my uncle and my older brother, Tom. We'd been planning it for over a year. We left before sunrise, paddling deep into the wilderness. All day we followed winding rivers, portaging our canoe over rapids and through narrow channels. By evening, we made it about halfway to our hunting grounds, maybe 30 miles from the nearest road. We set up camp near a tree line, high enough to avoid the worst of the bogs, low enough to stay sheltered from the wind. My uncle figured we'd finish the journey in the morning, get to the good hunting spots by midday. After everyone went to sleep, I decided to grab some more firewood and take a walk down by the riverbank, to relieve myself. Just outside the reach of the firelight. I'd been standing there maybe 2 minutes when I heard something, rustling in the bushes, about 20 yards away right at the tree line. I watched that spot, focused on it, waiting to see a deer or maybe a raccoon. And then I felt it, this wave of dizziness, lightheadedness, like I'd stood up too fast. And a smell. God, that smell. Like rotten food left out in the sun, spoiled milk, something dead and decomposing. I kept staring at the trees, and slowly they started to shift. The branches seemed to move, bend. The shadows seemed to twist and reshape. And then I saw it, a face. The trees were forming a face. And then I heard the voice. It was my grandfather who died 6 months earlier. "Hello," the voice said, soft, warm, familiar. "I've missed you. Come see me." I smiled. I actually smiled, and I started walking toward it. But then I stopped. Something wasn't right. The face, it had stopped smiling. It just stared at me blank, emotionless, empty. And then the skin started to change. It turned pale, gray, like a corpse, and it started peeling. Chunks of flesh fell from the cheeks, just dropped onto the ground with soft thuds. I felt my stomach turn, my whole body went cold. And that's when I realized I'd been walking towards it this whole time. I was further from the fire than I thought, maybe 30, 40 feet deep in the shadows. The voice changed. It wasn't soft anymore. It was angry. Come here. Not asking, commanding, demanding. I turned to run, but I looked back one more time and I saw it. Its true form. Rotting flesh hanging off gnawed yellow bone. Eyes sunken so deep into the skull they looked like black pits. The chest hollow, empty. I could see straight through the ribcage. The thing was tall, 7, maybe 8 feet, impossibly thin, limbs too long for its body, and it was staring right at me. I ran. I tried to yell for help, but the fear had stolen my voice. It came out quiet, raspy, barely a whisper. I could hear it behind me, heavy footsteps, breathing deep, rattling breaths. I ran along the river bank, stumbling over roots and rocks. My lungs were burning. I made it to the top of the bank. There was a small ledge, maybe 3 feet high. I jumped, and it grabbed my leg. I hit the ground hard, started clawing at the dirt, the grass, anything, trying to pull myself forward. Its grip was ice cold, like touching a frozen corpse. My fingers dug into the earth, tearing up handfuls of grass and soil. Finally, my voice came back and I screamed, "It's got me! Something's got my leg! Help!" My brother bolted out of his tent, ran over, grabbed my arms, and pulled me up with everything he had. He dragged me back to the fire. I was shaking, hyperventilating, trying to explain what I'd just seen. That it looked like Grandpa, but it wasn't. That it had grabbed me, that its skin was rotten off. My brother looked at me, and he said 3 words that made my blood run cold. I saw it, too. We stayed up all night, rifles loaded, backs to the fire, eyes on the tree line. As soon as the sun came up, we packed everything and left. We didn't finish the hunt. We didn't talk about what happened. We just paddled as fast as we could and went home. But it didn't end there. For months afterward, I couldn't sleep. Every night I had the same nightmare, that thing standing at the edge of the trees, staring at me, reaching out. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, and I'd see shadows in my window, dark shapes pressing against the glass. I'd hear whispers when I walked home at night, my name spoken in my grandfather's voice. Then I started seeing it during the day, a dark figure standing in the corner of my room when I woke up, at the edge of the parking lot when I left work, in the reflection of store windows, always watching, always there. I went to people who know about these things, medicine men, elders from the Cree community where my mother's family is from. They helped. The ceremonies, the smudging, the prayers gave me some relief, but it was only temporary. A few days, maybe a week, then it would come back. One of the elders told me what it was, a Wendigo. In the old stories, Wendigos are spirits of insatiable hunger and cold. They're born from greed, from cannibalism, from the worst parts of human nature. They live in the deep forests of the north, and they mimic the voices of people you love to lure you into the trees, to hunt you. He told me that if a Wendigo touches you, it attaches itself like a parasite for life. I haven't been able to enjoy the outdoors since that night. I used to love it out there. Hunting, fishing, hiking, camping under the stars, being in nature was everything to me. Now, I can't go into the woods without feeling like I'm being watched. And when I do go, when I have to, I keep my back against a tree always. I never stay out after dark, and I never ever go alone, because I know it's still there. I see it almost every day, in shadows and reflections in the corner of my vision. It's always there. I'm sharing this story because I need you to understand something. The old stories, the ones Indigenous people have been telling for generations, they're real. I used to think they were just campfire legends, Legends to scare kids. Now I know better, and I paid the price for that ignorance. If you ever go deep in the wilderness, especially in the northern forests, respect it. Listen to the people who lived there for thousands of years. Don't wander off alone at night. Don't go outside the firelight. And if you hear a voice calling you from the trees, a voice you recognize, a voice of someone you love, don't answer. Don't go toward it, because if it touches you, you'll never be free. 3 stories, 3 encounters, 3 people who went into the wilderness and came back changed. The first survived a human predator by trusting his dog and standing his ground. The second learned that disrespecting nature had consequences and that sometimes the only way out is to apologize. And the third learned that some things, once they touch you, never let go. The wilderness is beautiful, but it's not empty. Whether it's someone hiding in the trees, a spirit guarding its territory, or something far older than we can understand, there are things out there we do not fully comprehend. So the next time you go camping, remember these stories. Stay close to the fire, trust your instincts, and if something doesn't feel right, leave. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you have your own camping horror story, drop it in the comments below, as I'd love to hear it. And if you want more true encounters like these, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.